Hi, this is Michelle with Michelle's Macarons, and today we're going to talk about what to do if you're getting tiny feet on your macaron. So if everything else looks good, if the tops are smooth, if they taste good, and everything else is okay, but you're getting like shorter feet, like the thing that goes around the outside of your macaron, then these are some things you can try. So this is the recipe that I use. Go here if you haven't. It's a beginner recipe. It's step by step. So it gives you instructions to make sure you know what you're doing while you're going through macarons if this is the first time making it. Okay, check out these videos as well if you're having trouble. I go have a video about why macarons are maybe hollow, some frequently asked questions, macaron troubleshooting, and then once again, this recipe. Start with this one. Even if you have another recipe and it's just not going well, consider trying this. This is my favorite one. Okay, so first tip is to make sure all of your equipment is clean. All of your equipment is clean. So that might mean even more than just soap and water, because if you're using something that's oil-based or butter or something like that in the same bowls you're whipping the meringue, that can cause some problems. You should definitely be using hot water, dish soap. If you can, maybe like a sanitizer, at least get water as hot as you can and really try to scrub the bowl. And then you could even wipe it down with some white vinegar. That has sometimes helped people. And that's what I always suggest when you're doing washing your mats, if you use anything that's oil-based on those as well. But everything, all your equipment, maybe just fill a sink up with, after you've washed it with hot water and soap, then fill another sink up with hot water and vinegar, or you can wipe it down with vinegar. Just make sure it's like not greasy at all. If you like this video and you want to see more like it, hit the subscribe button and the bell next to it to be notified whenever I come out with a new video. Okay, my second tip is use the same ingredients and recipe every time. Don't hop around to different methods, different recipes every time you're trying to make macarons, because how will you know what's going wrong? Stick with one recipe that you know has a lot of success and use the same ingredients and everything, so you know that is not what's messing up. So then you can kind of play around with oven temperature, cleaning your bowls more, and stuff like that. I've said this in all these other videos. Make sure you're only changing one thing at a time. That sounds like it would get expensive because you have to keep making batches, but you can half this recipe or cut it into a quarter, or you don't have to make the full recipe every time. My third tip is, it could be because you have too much moisture in your batter. You could get rid of that by aging your egg whites. I don't age my egg whites. I don't really ever recommend it unless you're in like a super humid environment, but that is when you crack the eggs, separate them from the yolks, separate the whites from the yolks, and then cover them, put them in the fridge, like overnight, 24 hours, and that will kind of get some of the liquid out and reduce a little bit of that moisture. That could be why, because that moisture could be kind of weighing down your batter when you're piping and you have the shells out. That's something to consider. Food coloring. If I use a super dark food coloring, that it's guaranteed that I'm gonna have really short feet. So if you're using too much food coloring, even powdered food coloring can sometimes do it. Even if you think I'm only using powder, that still has some stuff in it that could kind of affect the feet. So if you're trying to get these right, don't put any food coloring in at first. And also flavors, extracts, oils. If this is your first time and you're having trouble with the feet, take those out. That could be something that is also causing the feet to be smaller. My fourth tip, if you're getting tiny feet on your macarons, is the meringue could be under whipped or over whipped. That can kind of mess with the height of the feet. So I have a video that goes over all of that and shows you everything. So go watch that, and that will kind of show you. A lot of the times I see that there's smaller feet is when it's under whipped. So I've explained it in this video, but if you think about it, there's no baking powder, no baking soda in these, so they need you to whip extra air into the meringue to give it that lift. So if you're not whipping them long enough and giving them that air to kind of push up, they're not going to. So make sure you watch that. So this is what the meringue should look like. Okay, you really want to make sure it's whipped enough and it's got really stiff peaks, and it's not just kind of like flimsy and bendy. Now you could be getting shorter feet on your macarons because of the macaronage stage. So after you've made the meringue, you're folding in the dry ingredients. If you overfold that, if you fold too many times, that can lead to kind of a flat macaron with not as much of a foot as you want. This is just my personal times, but I usually don't go over 60 folds, but go watch this video. I show you exactly how to do it. You might want to watch the video and see for yourself what the batter looks like and go by that when you're folding instead of just using my numbers. You're gonna have to come up with your own numbers, but that's kind of a good starting out point. Yeah, and this is gonna be different in every kitchen, and it's going to be different based on if you do decide to not listen to me and use food coloring and extracts and stuff, you're probably not gonna have to fold as much as when you are doing just a plain white shell with no flavoring in it. When you let your macarons, after you pipe them, if you have questions about piping, go to this video. After you pipe them, I always let them dry. I let them dry until there's like a slight, it's like dry on top and kind of a little harder. Not too hard, but just like if you press it, it's not gonna just smush in. But that is also different for everyone. It depends on the humidity in your area. So this is something that you should go join the free Facebook group and full of macaron bakers and ask in there, are there any Arkansas bakers or wherever you are that do the no rest method? Because then they'll kind of be able to help you out based on where you're located. But I like to rest. It can take anywhere from half hour to an hour. It kind of just depends on the season as well. So you have to keep an eye on those. Over resting can lead to short feet, and so can under resting. That is tough. Where it depends on where you live. Now, if you want to attempt the no rest method and just putting them in right in the oven, and putting them in right after you pipe them, definitely ask that question in the Facebook group. And I've seen also in the Facebook group, some people do oven drying. So they'll put it in at a lower temperature. I would not mess with that stuff when you're first starting. I would just try to dry them and do what I told you to do in this video at first. Then you can kind of go wild and try the no rest method. My 7th tip is baking. Very important that you get an oven thermometer to make sure that your oven is actually at the temperature you think it is. So you can't really do any of this if you don't know what temperature you're baking your macarons at. And it could fluctuate. It could go up and down and have hot spots. So get an oven thermometer, get a couple. Okay. Now, you could be under baking. So if that's the case, cut your macaron open, break it open, look into it. If it's like dense and kind of like a wet sponge, but like has a lot of moisture in it, it's probably under baking. That's kind of an easy fix. Just bake it longer. If you're doing it at a good temperature, just do it a little longer. Or it could be your oven's not hot enough. A lot of the times I see shorter feet is when someone is either not baking it long enough or their oven's not hot enough. So you need it to kind of really get kicked with that heat when you put them in and then stay at that heat so then they don't kind of fall down. So if your macarons are rising in the oven and they look good at first and they have tall feet at first and then you take them out and they kind of shrink, that is probably because you're not cooking them hot enough or long enough. They're all kind of problems that can like take pictures of them, put them in the Facebook group so we can see like what happens after. Because then there's other like signs that maybe it's the oven temperature if they're sticking to the mat or things like that. Okay, and if you want to start selling your macarons or any baked goods, I have a course called the Home Bakery Blueprint where you can work with me to start or grow your home bakery business. So sign up for the email list below and I will send an email out when spots are open for that. If you'd like, you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram and I'll put those links in the description. And like I've been saying, join the Facebook group if you still have questions. It's a free group. You can post pictures of your steps along the way and there's like 12,000 people in there now. So you will definitely get an answer. So just post every step along the way and then tell us what your problem is. Just go post it in the Facebook group, but make sure you answer the membership questions so you can be accepted. Okay, check out these other macaron videos. Okay, love you, bye.